West, maybe. I would hope not.
I don't think it needs to be changed. Whatever.
Good evening. Welcome to Canastota School District's regular meeting. This is March 9th, 2021. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If I could please have everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. My name is Bill Haddad. We have our Vice President, Lauren Crosby, trustees, Mr. Wes Hood. This is Debbie New. This is Kathleen Niles, Mr. Tim Bazan. We also have our superintendent, Sean Bethetta, our assistant superintendent, Chris Clancy, our business official, Mr. Nick Panuccio, our high school principal, Mr. Altabello, our Robert Street principal, Mike Faustino, and then we have some guests here for presentations. Then I'll introduce them as we go from there. Okay? Our routine matters. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby approve the following routine matters. The Board of Education minutes from February 9th and February 22nd, 2021. The budget transfers that are in your packet, and the CSE recommendations that are also in your packet. May I have a motion, please?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. This is our first public comment period. We don't have anything direct. Our first presentation tonight is our capital projects update. We have Construction Associates, who is our construction manager. Peter's on with us, and I'll turn it over to him, and I believe that's where it's going to immediately.
Thank you, Mr. Haddad. I'm just going to give you folks a quick update on where we are with the capital project. And then after that's over, I'll ask if you've got any questions. I'll stay on as long as you'd like me to. As you all know, we've been out to bid. We've already successfully awarded contracts to 6 different prime contractors that will be doing the work for us. We have also had our first 2 coordination meetings. We had a kickoff meeting, which was 3 weeks ago, that just basically set the ground rules for all the prime contractors. And then last week we had our first actual coordination meeting where we got into a little bit more details. And those meetings will continue every other week on Tuesday, and they will continue until the project is completed. Just to give you a quick update on some of the details, all the bonds and insurance for all of the contractors have been submitted and approved by your legal team and your insurance agent. They have all been submitted to me from Sue Merle. Sue and I have been working very well together on getting all those documents in, along with some purchase orders that are being done directly between some additional contractors and the district that we will be overseeing. All of those bonds and insurance will be uploaded to Procore tonight. Sue had sent those over to me today, so I'll upload those tonight after I'm done with the meeting. Schedules of values. Schedules of values is what the contractors put together for all the work that they're going to be doing. That is going to be reviewed on a monthly basis, and that's the tenet for their applications for payment. All those schedules of values have been submitted. We have reviewed them all. We issued numerous comments to all the primes just on adding a couple more details, breaking a few things out. All those schedules of values have been returned to me. I do have those now, and I will be taking those schedule of values and uploading those to Procore. But the next important thing with the schedule of values I'll be doing is putting a cash flow projection together that I will be giving to Mr. Panuccio, and then sitting down with him and the folks from Fiscal Advisors on March 24th to look at your guys' cash flow for the entire project. Submittal logs. Each of the prime contractor has issued a submittal log. Basically what that is a log saying here's all the items that we're going to submit for the design team's review and approval. As of today, basically 3 weeks into the project, we have 134 submittals that have been submitted. And out of those 134, I believe as of earlier today, 100 of them have been returned by the design team, either approved or approved as noted. So submittals are ongoing very well. Once a submittal is approved, that gives the contractor the ability to order those materials so that they are here in a timely basis for installation into the project. The last item that we've asked the contractors to give us is their schedules. Each of the contractors has given us a list of items that they're going to be performing within each of the buildings and in each of the phases. That all those schedules have been issued to the general contractor, and what they're doing is they're putting together our master schedule. That master schedule will be used to guide us from basically Monday, April 5th, all the way through to completion of the project. And we'll be reviewing that every other week with the prime contractors to make sure that we're staying on track. Just to make sure here, all the prime contractors have received their contracts. As of today, I believe the last one was sent back to the district being signed. So I believe either Mr. Panuccio or Ms. Merle will be getting those in the next couple of days. But I believe the last one went out in the mail today. So that's one last little bit of hurdle of paperwork that we have to take care of to make sure that everything feeds in. Along with our bi-weekly meetings that we have with the contractors, there are certain meetings that we have that are kickoff meetings to different aspects of the work. One critical item that we're getting ready to do at our next meeting will be our pre-roofing conference. You've got a lot of roof work that needs to be done. We have a separate prime contractor that comes in for the roofing, and we also have the manufacturer's technical representative come. And what we do is we go through and make sure that everybody understands all the details, all the processes with regards to the roofing, and what ultimately has to be done in order to get the project complete, but ultimately to get the manufacturer to sign off to give you your respective warranty for that roof. So that's a pre-roofing conference that we have with the roofing contractor and the manufacturer. We will also be having a pre-abatement meeting with the general contractor and their abatement company. As you folks may know, or probably do know, there is some abatement that needs to be done, starting off in Robert Street. And what we'll do is make sure that we have followed all the Department of Labor criteria in paperwork, making sure that the design team is reviewed, all of that, and that our proper postings are issued with the Department of Labor, and that they are properly posted on the building prior to us beginning our abatement. Some of the other things that you're going to probably see over the next couple of weeks, and right now looking at the weather, one of the things that we were asked, and I think I presented this to at least the facilities committee at one point, that if we could start things earlier, when we have the opportunity, and we were given the green light based off of, getting back with you folks and making sure that it was okay. One of the things you'll probably see, I don't know that it'll happen next week, but most likely the week after, is we will start mobilizing equipment to start the site work on your athletic field. That'll get us going a couple of weeks, probably about a week and a half, 2 weeks earlier. Let's keep our fingers crossed that the weather stays good for us. We'll also start seeing some trailers going up. We'll be beginning with Mr. Campbell to get the area cleared over by the pole barn adjacent to where the buses are parked. And we'll set up our trailer out there where we'll be conducting all of our future meetings. and we'll start seeing some particulars out there. And lastly, right now we are, other than the site work possibly starting earlier, we are scheduled to start work in your buildings on Monday, April 5th. Other than that, that's all I have, unless there are some questions.
Just want to thank you, Pete, for the information. I think it's long overdue, and I think we're very excited to get going.
Well, I'm glad to be part of your team. If there's anything that you folks ever need, just reach out to me, and we'll get it addressed immediately.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, anybody else? Anybody else have anything? Thanks, Pete. Peter, appreciate that very much.
Very, very well, folks. Have a wonderful evening and stay safe.
Thank you. Our next presentation is the college course overview. We have Tina Davis here, Jay Altabello. I'm not sure if you're doing this together, but I'll leave it for the two of you folks.
Okay. I'll go ahead and kick us off and give you a quick synopsis of where we're at and where we were a couple of years ago. So I'm going to go ahead and present my screen. I'm hoping people can see that. Yes?
Looks like it's coming up.
Okay.
Was there a minute? There it is.
There it is. Okay, so this is a brief snapshot of our current dual enrollment course offerings. And what I kind of did was I kind of just listed it by department and what we were able to offer by department. And so you can see here, you know, in art, we got 6+ credits. The plus is for the AP Studio and Art because there's only a potential to gain college credits through AP Studio and Art, but there's no guarantee. But we've also have the MVCC General Drawing and the MVCC Foundational Design, each 3 credits. You can see that in business, we offer 17 credits. MVCC Accounting is 3. OCC Computer Programming 1 and 2 are both 4 credits. OCC Entrepreneurship is 3 credits. TC3 Computer Applications 2 is another 3 credits. Currently in English, we offer Super Writing, which is 6 credits. We're going to talk a little bit about that in just a moment. In the world languages, we did offer OCC Spanish 201, but with the departure of Mrs. Karen Alberti, you know, we do not have the ability to do that. Having said that, we're hopeful that our new Spanish teacher will be working her way towards offering that OCC Spanish in the future. She did indicate that she was interested. We have TC3 French 102, 201, and 202, each 3 credits, for a total of 12. In math, we have TC3 Calculus, which is 4 credits. In science, we have a total of 24 credits. TC3 Biology, Chemistry, and Physics, each 8 credits. So that would be 4 credits per semester. In social studies, we have AP US History, and that's one of those AP ones where there's no guarantee in college credit. And we're also looking to change that over to a college level U.S. history course. And then you can see here we have BOCES options. BOCES offers a total of 24 credits depending upon the program the student is in, be it you know, New Visions or engineering and so forth. So total possible credits in-house, we have 69. Total possible credits in-house with BOCES, we have 93 credits. You know, to come, hopefully pending board approval, we're looking at TC3 English 100, 101, and 102. Tina will talk about that in a moment. And then we are, again, like I said, we're looking at college U.S. history to kind of round that off. In the past 5.5 years, this is kind of where we've been. At the end of the 2015-16 school year, we had 3 AP courses: AP Physics, U.S. History, and Calculus, and we had 3 SUPA classes: English, Biology, and Forensics. Before my time, I was told that we had had AP Spanish when Rob Douglas was here, but that had fizzled out since then. Now we currently have the list that you see on the right. We have OCC Spanish, OCC Computer Programming 1 and 2, and I'm not going to read all those once again, but you can see some of them were in place of what we had in the past. So, for example, TC3 Biology is in place of Super Biology. The TC3 Physics is in place of AP. The TC3 Calculus in place of AP Calculus, and so on. And as I mentioned, we're looking to add those other courses, and we're also now looking into the option of offering an early associate's degree program, where students not only graduate from high school, but also graduate with an associate's degree program. We met with the gentleman from Morrisville Community College, talking about this combination of classes, as a way to look at what we can offer kids and how that can all be packaged. One of the nice things about where we've gone in the past 5 years is that we've been able to offer, really guaranteed college credit, provided the kids pass the classes, at a free cost, at no cost. And so, whereas SUPA, became very, very expensive for our kids, in our community, these classes are not only free, but they are transferable from each SUNY school. So each SUNY school has reciprocity with all those particular college classes or credits. And so, kids can really walk away with a lot, in the bank, so to speak, and possibly save a semester or two, or maybe even a year or two once we get through exploring that early associate's degree program. So we're excited that we're able to offer so much. I do believe that we've come a long way. Our teachers have a lot of credit in that, and based on the work that they've done to get certified and to get approved by those colleges. And so that is certainly appreciative. And again, our kids can walk away with a significant amount of credits. So having said that and shown you that, I can certainly take some questions. If not, I will turn it over to Tina, who can explain what we're doing with SUPA and TC3 English.
Jay,
Yes.
when did we switch the sciences? Because we didn't have any input in that switch.
Yeah, they all got approved. They were approved. Some of them were approved last year or the year before. We had approved TC3 Biology with Aaron Tucci and the chemistry. And then we approved the physics via Sean Dwyer.
Did I miss a meeting somewhere?
I don't know, Ms. New. We wouldn't be offering them if they weren't approved.
Bill, do you remember?
I can't give you the date, but I do remember the conversation, and I believe we approved them.
Well, I'd like to go back and have somebody check that, please.
We'll call the dates, but I'm pretty sure. There's multiple steps to this, so you have to, and sometimes it's not very simple to, because the teacher has to present their certification and go through a process with the college. So that's far from automatic.
No,
so
I understand that.
And we would send it to the board, and we wouldn't move. Certainly, in the last year and a half, that would be have been approved. At the board level. So we'll pull the dates of those approvals.
Again, I think the benefit is, is getting the free college courses for our kids, and then the fact that they are so transferable from SUNY and junior colleges within the state is really beneficial for our kids. I did a shallow dive on some of our college statistics, and about 50% of our kids do attend SUNY schools. That does not include the kids who attend private schools. But about 50% on average do attend SUNY schools. So that is pretty significant, and I think we should be proud of that. Okay, so Ms. Davis is going to, Ms. Davis and I are proposing that we move to a TC3 college English. We're able to offer not only the 6 credits, but an additional 3. And I don't want to steal her thunder, but one of the things that she and I had talked about was, recognizing the rigor of SUPA, and certainly not abandoning some of the practices and the instructional components of what SUPA did offer. So we had talked about incorporating some of those SUPA practices in our TC3 curriculum. And then, again, moving forward with that in the hopes that it does get approved and we can offer an additional 3 credits. So, Ms. Davis, if you don't mind.
Thank you. Yeah, and I do want to start off, by saying that I've been fortunate to teach SUPA for the past 3 years of English. And, I love SUPA and I love what we've been able to do with it. However, when looking at what, Tompkins Portland Community College has to offer, it was hard to not dig into this a little bit deeper and look at those possibilities. What we were looking at, as Mr. Altobello said, is we have 3 classes here that we can now do. And the nice part is the ENGL 100 course is something that TC3 has given the green light that we could offer to junior. So this is something that could be in place of Honors English 11. Instead of taking Honors English 11, they would take the TC3 course 100 and walk away, of course, passing the class, would walk away with 3 credit hours in their pocket before they even hit their senior year, which is a nice plus to be able to offer them. The other 2 classes that TC3 has, the ENG 101 and 102, are comparable to the SU Writing 105 and the SU ENG 181 courses. They are both writing intensive courses. The TC3 102 is more literature based, but they both are heavily writing based and research based, which is similar to what we have had with our Syracuse University classes as well. As Mr. Altobello said, I am hopeful to incorporate some of the heuristics and activities that Syracuse University that I've learned through them over the past few years and bring that over to what I would create for a syllabus for TC3. The idea would be, as I said, that we would have the juniors do the ENG 100, and then for seniors, we would offer them the ENGL 101 and 102, which would be in place of, as I said, the Writing 105 and the 181 from Syracuse University. So that, as we said, they could walk away with 9 credit hours when they're done. And the Tompkins Community College is no cost. They are offering these classes no cost to the students at all, as opposed to what we have seen, of course, unfortunately, with Syracuse University and the charge that is, associated with that. That we find, would be a benefit for, the needs of our students to be able to have that. And the classes, the credits are, as we said, transferable to all SUNY schools and should be transferable to the private schools as well. That's what we're looking at. They did a review of my credentials to make sure that I would be qualified to teach all 3. I have been approved for that. They do have some additional training that I will need to attend to be to where they would like. me to be, but that was where we were thinking as a possibility to offer our students. If anybody has any questions, I can do my best to answer with what I know so far from them.
Yeah, Tina, I have a question.
Mhm.
I'm familiar with the OCC college course because we've been teaching it at our school this year in the past. And having to help those who are in the course, the writing is just so different from what was at SU, and the expectations of the community college in the grading of their papers was just so vastly different. So as a parent who had 7 children go through our district, who will have some grandchildren going through this district, having had this program with SU since 1984, I really hate to see it come to an end. I'll be very honest. I would like to see perhaps both SU and maybe Tompkins. I would like for my kids, so we're not going to go to a community college, or my grandkids will not go to a community college, be exposed to the rigor of the university rather than a community college writing. I've seen the program, at least at OCC. I'm sure it's very similar. It is no comparison.
I agree. You know what? Tim, I 100% agree. And I think Jay will, because I've talked to Jay about this. I agree because we looked at like MVCC too, and I agree with you. The rigor it was not the same. I will say that when I looked at Tompkins, their syllabi and what they were looking for, I felt that I know when I compared it, and I'm not trying. I don't want to put down any college. I'm not trying to do that, but I understand where you're coming from, and I agree because I had similar concerns with that. And what I found is that the Tompkins Community College, I felt, was not too far below where SU was. And I felt that with some tweaking of their syllabi, that we could elevate the rigor of what they had, incorporate some of what I have taken away from SU over these past few years, and incorporate it into what we're doing with that. But I also agree that if we could, why not try to still keep, SUPA as a possibility for anyone that might be interested in that. It was just really hard to not look at Tompkins, like I said, when they were offering us these extra possibilities, the extra class, and then the idea, of the free tuition. That was very hard to just kind of turn away from.
I agree with you, Tina, and I have nothing. I know that you're quite capable of doing. There's no doubt in my mind that that's not even the issue. It's just that, this is probably the only program we have at Canastota where we've established a relationship with the university. And for, I think it's now what? Okay, so 84, 16, 20, 37 years. Why to disband it when we might have that population or could have the population taking it? And I think this program is ideal for your average students who want to go on to college, to get the taste of college. And I think it's ideal for them. But for those who are more motivated, and we do have our advanced group from 8th, 7th grade on. So how many 8th graders were there in advanced English, 4 years ago? Probably 20-something, 30-something. So if you have 20 or 30-something, I'm sure we can find 10 of them would want to take the more challenging program along with the rest of them, and maybe others who we would like to tap into, because I'm all for the free tuition. It's just that I would really, I could not support this, especially since I ran for the board to make sure that our school system was going to be on the up and up and rising like it was when we were teaching there. I mean, #1 in the area. I personally cannot vote yes for that. I want you to take it personally. I can't vote yes unless it was going to be perhaps with both. I just have to be very honest. if we're going to be this district that others want to come to, I think let's show them we can do both.
I think there's a couple of issues here. I mean, part of it is the demand, as we're doing with other courses. What ultimately do the kids want to take, or how many kids would be enrolled? So we have to look at all of the courses through that analysis of how many kids. I think there's no doubt that the TC3 course is good. I would think would be pretty well subscribed. You know, that a lot of kids are going to see the benefit of that. Jay said the credit would be transferable throughout the SUNY system. And I think he also, part of this was that this wasn't a statement about abolishing necessarily any program. I think we should look through the lens of what is the demand for courses and what can we support. And it makes sense to have, experienced teachers like Mrs. Davis be able to offer those types of courses that are there's I think clearly a high demand for, and that from a financial standpoint, from an academic standpoint, it gives our kids something that is again I think hard to pass up. I'm all for rigor. I'm all for holding the standard high, and I think we can do that. I think what we're doing in multiple ways proves that, wider range of course offerings. If there's a demand or it makes sense to offer certain courses, we're certainly not trying to get rid of courses that are successful. So if there's a demand for that, then we still would want to look at that. And even outside, I'll take it a step further when we're looking at trying to be progressive or to meet the needs of students. I think we're one of the districts who's looking at not only what college course offerings are we offering, but also what are some other training options that we're offering outside of just the traditional model. Because people typically think of us as saying we're always talking to kids about college, and we should talk to kids about college, absolutely. But I'm always going to advocate for relevant training. And I think, that's what Mr. Altobello has talked about as well, the need for relevant training. For some kids, that means college and maybe advanced degrees, and we need to be able to put them on a path to do that. But we also want to look at how are we connecting. For example, we are going to be offering some things, really pretty soon, connected to businesses who will acknowledge student proficiency, aptitude, learning in certain areas that they will accredit. So I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. While we're offering college courses, we're also going to be offering different types of credentials that are recognized by the outside world, by business and industry. So I think that is a way of us setting the bar high. And to reiterate, I don't think in any way we're trying to get rid of something that is highly subscribed to or that there's a demand for, because I would advocate against that as well. I agree. I don't want to lower the bar in any way. What were you going to say, Jay?
Yeah, I just, that's why, Tina and I talk so much about not abandoning that super curriculum, because we recognize the rigor of that, but when we're able to, when 50% of our kids go to SUNY schools, I consider that's good. That's a good thing. And I don't want to denigrate that, whatsoever. We have a lot of kids doing that. They're doing really good things. Some of these SUNY schools are some of the top in the state, and we have good kids, great kids going to great institutions. And I think that's a testament to kind of what our teachers are doing and what we're able to offer. I don't think moving away from SUPA denigrates really anything. I think it's an opportunity to service more kids in our community, which allows them to still get all college credits that they can transfer when they go. Some of them still may transfer to private institutions. There's no reason. There's nothing there that says that they can't or don't. They certainly can, and some of them certainly will. Maybe not all of them, but they certainly will. And the kids will certainly have a lot of exposure, which is what I think we're really trying to do. Like Mr. Becerra said, trying to get those kids some training and really get more kids involved. I think, Wes, you just asked how many kids are enrolled in SUPA Tina, correct me, I think it's around 9 or 10 right now.
It's 8. I responded in the chat, Matt. It is 8 right now. We had started out with a little bit more enrolled, but they did not pan out for the whole year. So this year is a lower number than what we've had. It is at the 8. But this is not necessarily the typical year either.
I'm certainly not saying that, again, we should not offer this, because I know that every student should challenge themselves. I'm saying that not every student is going to go to a SUNY college, and there are some who have gone to the Pittsburghs and the Cornells and the Ithacas and the Hartwicks, and I can name Lemoyne's, and the community college English course, I'm sorry, I don't think would prepare them as well as the SUPA would have.
And
I taught them, I've taught it, I'm teaching it, there is no comparison. So that's where I'm coming from. You just have to understand that.
Well, so again, the topic tonight is whether we're going to move forward and have it available.
So is it going to be available, Bill, along with SUPA? Because I'm going to say to you that other schools in the area do things like AP English, or they do SUPA, as well as offer English classes out of MD, OCC, or whatever. I have no objection. Personally, I would have no objection to offering both SUPA and PC3. I think that would be ideal. I, like Tim, do not want to see us give up the SUPA. And I don't, at this point, I don't know that the financial issue is, in a sense, paramount, only because I know, for example, that our kids have been told that there is scholarship money available. Has that, again, how has that been used? I just would hate to see, because as Tim just said, I would hate to see that SUPA basically, be gone. Because I'm going to say, from my point of view, I've had 2 daughters, one who went to Geneseo and one who went to Bryn Mawr, and neither one of them would, or both of them would save you. They could not do the rigor at either one of those institutions without doing PA English. And I just think that, you know what? We talk about what we do for everybody and what are we doing for our best and our brightest. And at least for me, I think we have to at least offer it. And again, as Tim said, if you've got 30 kids or you've got 25 kids starting in honors English, let's just say 9th grade. If you can come up with 10, 12, or 15 for PA, and again, you've got a lot of other kids who may be able to take advantage of the TC3 English, and that's wonderful. That's great. But I don't think that at this point, and particularly with us looking at, again, a new ELA program coming up, supposedly K-12, writing, reading, that we should just be, again, shelving TA.
But okay, let me finish my thought, Debbie. Nobody has said that we're getting rid of SUPA English.
Okay.
Nobody said that. There's not been one mention there. This was an addition to, right? I mean, and tell me, Mr. Altobello, if I'm saying something incorrect, but we have a board policy on attendance by class. So if one or the other is there, then maybe there's both, and it's possibly available. But we're not going to have 3 kids in SUPA English in a period taken up for that, because that's not our policy, and that's not what we're doing. And I got to be honest with you, as a student who took SUPA English, or as a parent who has a student who took SUPA English last year, the bill's damn hefty. Okay, and it's something. I got to be honest with you. When the bill came, I wasn't definitely prepared for it. I'm glad she took it, and I'm glad of all that happened. But wasn't quite ready for that either. So there is opportunity there. Now, if somebody's got a plan that we're adding this and we're getting rid of, then that's a different conversation. But I've not heard that yet.
I think it was stated somewhere in place of PA.
Yeah, doesn't it say that?
I thought it said it right on our agenda.
So I think it's really important to note that anytime you can get a course approved, to get it approved, because that way you have it in your back pocket. Whether it's offered or not, it makes sense to get things approved so that you can offer them down the road. Now, as far, you mean AP or P? I'm not sure what PA. Are we talking about AP?
No, I'm talking about I'm talking about keeping the Syracuse University course as well as bringing it. I think it's wonderful.
Because it says somewhere I read it said in place of.
Yeah, it was on that presentation. So, and what that meant is that we, instead of offering, we could still offer a super class, but instead of
put in place of, that means we're going to replace it. That's what that indicates.
Sorry, Tim, that's semantic. What I mean by that was that was going. We're doing them because we have more interest in them. That doesn't mean that we cannot offer SUPA down the road if we ever had continued interest in SUPA. SUPA costs right now $110 per credit. That's $660.
Hey, listen, it costs that much when I took it. I'm well aware of the cost. And yet when people say they were not prepared for that cost, let's be honest. When you go to a school like St. Lawrence and you're paying $40,000, $60,000, you figure out your cost per hour, credit hour. It's a savings to take SUPA English.
Yeah, it is. And, Tim,
Julie Robinson, and you weren't around with Julie Robinson. Julie Robinson's mother could not wait to tell us how she saved $40,000 because her kid graduated a year early at a university, not a 2-year college.
Which is what our kids can do. And I went to one of those fine institutions that you had indicated, Tim. I went to Ithaca College and I didn't take any SUPA courses and I did pretty well. My point is that our high-end kids still have opportunities to take high-end classes and do well, get college credit, and go to not only 2-year and 4-year service.
I'm well aware of that, Jay. I'm just saying I would see Project Advance as a school board member.
I think there's a couple of things just to try to bring some closure to this. The concept is are we liking the idea of being able to offer this to TC3? I would strongly endorse the idea of having Tina, be able to offer this, because I think there's going to be tremendous benefit to our kids and a tremendous demand. I think we can continue to talk about what are the numbers looking like? What is the demand? We don't want to take away something that there's overwhelming demand for. There's a justification to offer. And as Mr. Haddad mentioned, there are guidelines that will, I think, inform the decision-making process as far as how many kids are enrolled and that sort of thing. So I think, to reiterate that the point is we're not necessarily giving a class the death penalty. It's more of, are we going to open up this door, which undoubtedly is going to lead to more kids benefiting and earning college credit. And we don't want to do that at the expense of the course. We'll see. We need to see where that goes. But it certainly, in my mind anyways, makes sense to offer the course. And I will tell you, I think that's the trend in schools all over the state, that when they look at trying to help kids and providing opportunities, it certainly makes sense to offer. I did it as a principal, I would be inconsistent if I didn't continue to support having access to these types of credit within the state system. I think Mr. Altabello said earlier, we have probably half of our kids end up being able to move on to those institutions. So again, I think the conversation can continue, but I think to say that I think this is a good idea to be able to have Mrs. Davis be able to teach this course and provide this to our kids. I think it really makes a lot of sense.
All right, quick programming note on Debbie's initial question here. We approved last year, March 10th, the TC3 programs that you asked about, Debbie.
And
we're a full board. Who made the motion? Mr. Crosby went ahead and seconded it. It was voted unanimously.
was it, did we, I must have been half asleep. In all of those science programs as well as anything else?
The science programs, that's correct. For Mrs. Tucci and Mr. Dwyer.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just have one quick question. Do any of those courses qualify? I know you talked about writing intensive as that designation for if someone's transferring it, just out of curiosity, because I know that's a thing now at schools where you have to have so many potentially courses that meet certain criteria in your programs.
I would have to double check that with TC3. I know what you're speaking of because I know what you're referring to there, and I will have to check that. I know with the paperwork that I have from them so far, they do tell. Give me a second to just find what you're talking about that. They do say how it does meet the requirements for the SUNY and CUNY general education communication requirement. I would need to double check on that because I do understand what you're saying, that there are certain writing intensive courses that students are required to complete. And that is something I can check with them to be sure of, yes.
Yeah, I was just curious because that would help too, just when you're trying to think about what other requirements would it check the box for when you're in school. I didn't know if the SUPA course did that either, but I know the colleges have those type of requirements.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I would have to double check on that.
I'd like to make a quick comment, if I could, in regard to this. Is I'm all for offering all these elite classes for our individuals, but it is very clear that, well, I've been on this board, and I think most of the people that are in this meeting agreed with that as well, is that we need the attendance, the numbers in the class in order to offer the class. 8 students does not cover that, Miles. I'm sorry. I understand that maybe you're saying this isn't a year as normal, but I think it's going to be a class that we're going to look at. If we're not getting the numbers that we set forth in the policy, we can't be offering the class. I mean, it's not being fiscal responsible to our taxpayers. And we've discussed this in the past. I think if we're going to offer a class that's going to have a lot more students able to take it and still get college credit, you know, the idea here is we got to give opportunity to as many students as possible, not just a few. It's just a comment I wanted to make. And I'm all for offering the class and continuing the other as long as the numbers are there. If the numbers are not there, I am not for it.
Well, I think, and again, I'm not going to argue with that point with you, Wes, but I also believe, and again, I watched Tina's expression when, people spoke in favor of PA. And again, I think it goes back, again, to teachers. And basically, in other words, if Tina's teaching juniors and she's teaching a class of juniors, and there are 15 kids that ought to be really, excited about PA, and the other 15 or the other 35 of her juniors who could be taking TC3, I think it's imperative for her to basically say, you know what, you got to sell it to your kids. I mean, I don't care, whether or not what program it is, and, whether or not it's whatever. I mean, you got to go out and sell your program. And you're right, you can't be teaching to 2 or 3. But again, if she's got these kids who basically could benefit from the PA and the university and that kind of rigor and structure, but it's not just she, it's the other members of the English department. You know who these kids are. And, These are kids like your own son, Wes. You know what? I mean, who've done very well and basically benefited from this. So,
one of the I think teachers are very well aware of like their programs and having to promote their programs. We're dealing with that. With some of our college classes, we're dealing with that. Some of our other certain programs. And trying to get kids involved. And most teachers, if not all of them, are making a concerted effort to recruit kids into their programs. I see, again, like, I mentioned that, Tina's shaking her head. I mean, they know that they want to get numbers up, and we're trying to do that. And I think this is a way that we can actually keep the numbers up in our college classes because they are free and they are transferable and they offer our kids so many different opportunities. Not that SUPA doesn't. This is not a challenge or an issue about SUPA. SUPA is great. There's nothing wrong with SUPA. I think what the point that's been made is how many more kids can we service? How many more opportunities can we give the kids? How many more kids can we get involved? And then, and how many more kids can benefit from this? And I think that's really where we're trying to go with what we're able to offer. You could see that 5 years ago, we weren't really offering almost any college credits, and now we're up to 63 credits just in-house. And that, again, I'm going to toot, our own horn here, but we should be happy about that. We should be proud about that. I am, and I think the teachers are, and I think we're moving in directions now that are increasing opportunities, be it our college offerings, be it the badging and credentialing, be it work-based learning opportunities. We're continuously trying to offer these things so that kids have opportunity. I said when I was hired here, education is about opportunity and options. What can you do so that when you're done with high school, you have as many options as you can get? And this is one way we can do that for our kids.
Anybody else? All right, Mr. Antebellum, Ms. Davis, I appreciate it very much for your time and your presentation.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to, there is no old business, new business. Resolved, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby approve the following change order threshold for the Building Excellence Capital Project. $1 to $2,500, Nick Campbell can review and approve them on his own. The facilities committee will be notified. $2,501 through $999, Nick Campbell, Nick Panuccio, Sean Bissetta will review and approve. The facility committee will be notified. $10,000 or greater, the facility committee will review and approve. May I have a motion, please?
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Well, either you, Wes, I just put the reason why we have these and we talked about these is we wanted to make sure that the board had representation on change orders and making sure that we don't want to slow process down, but we also want to be very, very aware of our capital dollars being spent. Is that a fair statement, Wes?
Yes, it is, and for those of us that were on the board in the past when we had past projects, this was something that we weren't made well aware of. So there was a lot of things being done behind the scenes that very well are okay. Ultimately they're okay, but it's nice to be able to have this information so that if the taxpayers question what's going on or why we're doing something or why we're changing something, or for some reason why we couldn't do a particular task, at least now we have justification and we can explain it to everybody and more or less sell it to everybody if we need to. So I think it's a great control For sure. It's important, and I see no reason for it to slow the process of the project up at all.
Anybody have any questions on that? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 2, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby approve the health services with the United City Schools for the 2020-21 fiscal year. May I have a motion? So moved. Lauren,
Second.
Catherine, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. These next couple are, if people are following home, it's on an initial agenda. 3I is not going to be part of this motion tonight. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby approve the following policies and regulations. Policy 0014, gender neutral, single occupancy bathroom facilities. Policy 7001 replaces 7011, admission to school. Policy 7002, education of homeless children. D, Regulation 7002-1, procedures for achieving education of homeless children. Policy 7003 replaces and incorporates 7024 and 7024-1, determination of student residency. Regulation 7003.1, renumbered 7024.2, student affiliate of emancipation, or affidavit, I'm sorry, student affidavit of emancipation. Regulation 7003.2, renumbered 7024-3, parent guardian affidavit. Regulation 7003-3, affidavit for receiving parties or persons of parental relation. Regulation 8020.1, renumbered 7012.1, administrative regulation pension. May I have a motion, please? So moved. Okay, any discussion? Lauren? I don't know if
I was just going to give a quick update just because there were so many of these here. Most of these are just language changes from state ed, and BOCE's just updating some language. There wasn't any drastic changes. Some of them are just replacing some outdated text and wording that came down from the state ed department. The two that were a little bit more complex, and that's even too much of a strong word, that were a little bit different, was the first one that you mentioned was the gender neutral single occupancy bathroom facilities. That's just a new policy that we're incorporating with our capital project that just specifies that any single use bathroom, so if it's a single sink, a single toilet facility, now this has to be marked as unisex or non-gender specific. So really, it's just some signage in the district buildings that we're not really changing the bathroom facilities themselves. It's just signage to make those aware that there's no longer a men's versus women's in a single occupancy. It's just a bathroom or restroom as needed. And the only other one that was more than just a language change really was just the admission to school 7001. There were some weird things that were past practice regarding kindergarten transfers that were just a little bit of handcuffing the district. We wanted a little bit more flexibility with how we take in kindergarten transfer students. So we just changed some updated language there. But the rest of these were mostly just language wordsmithing things. And most of the changes for the affidavit type regulations, as well as much of the education and homeless type related things, was reallocating and creating a new liaison position where it was specified just a general designee rather than a specific person. So no major wholesale changes to many of these. It was just a lot of language updates and just some wordsmithing as well. And just while we're on there, most of these two are just to so we can save ourselves on the next step. Most of the things that are deletions of policies in the next motion that I have are just removing a lot of these that have been renumbered. Some of these were just compressed down into a single regulation or a single policy rather than have 2 or 3 that we've had in the past. So just cleaning up things.
Policy's been busy.
Yes.
Any other questions? Any comments? Any further discussions on these? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Wes, you're muted. Let's see, Kathleen.
How's this? Aye.
I'm sorry. Anybody opposed? Carried. Well, remember, we're only working with 6 tonight, so I got to make sure that's not everybody. Number 4, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of the schools, the board does hereby approve to delete the following policies and regulations. Policy 7011, age of initial entrance into the school system. Policy 7012, retention policy, grades kindergarten through 8th. Regulation 7012.1, administrative regulations, retention. Policy 7020, pupil attendance at school. Regulation 7020.1, pupil attendance, tardiness. Regulation 720.2, absence from class. Regulation 7021, release of student from instruction. Policy 7024, determination of student residency. Regulation 7024.1, procedure for determining the school's residency and the educational homeless children. Regulation 7024.2, student affidavit of emancipation. Regulation 7024.3, parent affidavit. May I have a motion?
So
Any further discussion on these? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 5, resolved that the Canastota Central School District nominates Doug Gustin for the seat currently held by Doug Gustin for the office of member of the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, a 3-year term, July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2024. May I have a motion?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolved. This Canastota keep used to saying that. Resolved. The Canastota Central School District nominates Mr. William Miller as the NISBA Area 5 Director for the next 2-year term effective January 1st, 2022. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 7, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby approve the following Thompson's Cortland Community College course pending submission of the teacher syllabus and completion of training with TC3 staff as attached in your packet. May I have a motion?
So moved.
second.
Lauren. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I got everybody, right? 6-0? Carried. Okay, committee reports. Policy.
So policy continues to work through recommendations from state ed and BOCES. Nothing new. We'll have a couple more conversations with the broader board regarding some future wanting to mirror that we want to go beyond the broader committee with. But just the status quo, we need to work through updates from state ed.
Any questions for policy? Safety?
Yes, we met last Thursday. Well, we started with Nick and Sean, but I'll go back because Jack was late getting there. So the man from BOCES. He talked, for example, about obviously the flu. It's been very low, not only in our district, but throughout the BOCES district. He updated us on the testing for lead in the water. New York State has basically kept to its 6/30/21 guidelines, and that's got to figure that one out because as it stands, I believe, and again, Nick can, but the school's got to be in operation. Everybody's got to be here, and we don't know if that's going to, how that's going to happen, but that's one of the things for testing the water. Correct, Nick?
Yeah, we're still getting further guidance.
All right, so we're still waiting. Visual inspections, again, it was, it was done. Condition rating, the architect and the engineers are going to update this in 2021, and it will be electronically submitted to New York State Ed. And then I'll go back to Nick and Sean's presentations about the pandemic plan. Nick told us that basically he had to submit to the state I think to the state, if not to the county, but who the essential workers were, and he basically said everybody, all district employees. Basically both he and Sean again went, on record as saying that basically we're a district that defers to the experts. Sean basically gave us an update with guidance from the health department and the BOCES superintendents, based in the idea that, until we hear from either New York State or from Madison County, and hoping for a unified message. But we need a governing body, and we're not going to go out on a limb by ourselves. Basically always will be going with the conservative guidance. But they did say that they are, obviously you're looking back, you're looking, if possible, we'd love to bring back 7-12, but we need more guidance. Maybe 7-8, but again, more guidance. Again, I thought it was really important that, again, both of them reiterated the idea that they wanted to thank everyone for maintaining the standards, especially the nurses. And then Roseanne, the high school nurse, Roseanne Gardenier, talked a little bit about psychological issues and social emotional impacts, and basically, again, wanted to thank parents about continuing to do a great job as far as the screenings were concerned. Then there was a capital project update, and basically that had to do with the fact that, again, safety of the utmost importance. There will be no engagement as far as the construction, no engagement with kids from the construction workers. Hoping to start, as we heard tonight, in early April. Some specific questions about, where things might be happening. And there was a question from the Robert Street nurse about where she was going to be located. And again, that was they'll get back to her. But this will be, and one of the things that Sean and Nick both said was that this is a long-term capital project, and there will be, 2+ years, and there will be lots of, possible movement, etc. And again, you got to go with flow. Construction updates, and that's what we heard tonight. Nick talked about district-wide procurement as far as need for what we need as far as the vaccines, as far as basically dealing with the virus. And that was good. Aaron Tucci was on, and by the way, I don't know, I didn't see all 20 people, but there were at least 20 people on the safety committee call last Thursday, which was really wonderful. And but Erin, again, she was on. She oftentimes calls in, and she said that the biolab had done they'd done an experiment. They had gone and used their petri dishes and basically taken samples from different drinking fountains, desks, whatever, and found virtually nothing growing in the petri dishes. And then she said the students basically used their own hands and found all kinds of gross things growing. So again, the cleaning is wonderful. And, again, I think people should be, congratulated. And again, the staff should be congratulated on that. And again, Nick and Sean both said thank you to everyone in the school and in the community. And Nick made the point that, he thought that basically as far as safety was concerned, because we do meet generally on an afternoon, on 2:30 or so, that the virtual meeting, really seemed to work out well, at least in the near future. That's the way we'll be doing it. Nick and Sean, if there's anything I've left out, please add.
No, you did a good job of going over the whole meeting. It was good. The only thing I wanted to reiterate is when you stated that I put everybody as an essential employee, the reason that was stated is because we'll figure out who needs to be essential when the time comes. So anytime a pandemic in the future or something else catastrophic happens, we'll look at everybody as a whole and we'll deduct from there. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Talking to me.
Your turn, Bill.
All right, any questions for safety? Sorry, kept trying to push it. All right, academic, Senate, Tracy's not on yet, and I don't think they've met. Tim, you're on that committee. Nobody's.
No, we have not met.
Okay. Facilities.
We were just as
Sorry.
we're starting to have a conversation about the academic committee under the academic committee umbrella offering a session to just clarify where we are with all the different pieces to state assessments and what is or isn't happening. So we are looking to schedule something that'll be interactive with families. Looking to get that scheduled sometime soon after the Board of Regents meeting, which is scheduled for March 15th and 16th. The Board of Regents will be meeting. So we will be getting that out to the public pretty shortly, just to try to answer their questions.
Terrific. Wes?
So facilities met last Thursday. We took a little walk down to the so-called weight room, aerobic room, storage room area to look at the upgrades that we're looking to do and incorporate it into the current project. There's obviously a need for some adjustments in there as well. it's pretty much all we covered. We just kind of revamped it. Had a little discussion based on what Pete went over tonight in regards to scheduling, where the contracts were at, and so on and so forth. We'll, obviously, once the project gets going here shortly, we'll probably be meeting. At least we'll probably be meeting a couple weeks with them as well, just that we can give you guys an update as to how the project itself is going.
Any questions for facilities? Thanks. Okay, budget. We met last Tuesday. Part of the budget transfers in your packet there, going over some preliminary numbers. We continue to remind Mr. Panuccio that he needs to find us more money somewhere. Preliminary things are still coming out. Hopefully, very shortly here, we'll have a state budget, and maybe they can incorporate some of the large federal funds that are coming in here and go to schools and actually make it down to us. So that may change our direction, but who knows? So I will say that it's still a work in progress, but I know that Nick continues to have this very well organized, and we'll be ready with our budget, our whole budget process. Any questions there? Okay. Board comment period. Anybody have anything? All right. Superintendent's report. Mr. Pacetta.
Okay, I just wanted to update everyone on where things stand with the most common question I get, which is are we changing the social distancing guidelines for Canastota? So just to clarify exactly where things are, because there is a lot of confusion, especially given the fact that neighboring counties like Onondaga County, there's been a lot of media coverage saying that they have opened the door by a declaration from the county that they can move from 6 feet to 3 feet, but with barriers. There has been no similar declaration from Madison County. And we got, my understanding is the next Madison County Board of Health meeting is March 22nd. We've been invited to give our feedback as far as questions that we would like considered. So obviously that's one of those questions that we'll be submitting for consideration is one, whose call is it? Because there've been some questions about that. Onondaga County has made their call. As was mentioned in the safety committee update, we've said from the beginning that we'll defer to the experts. We really need a body of experts to weigh in at the state or county level. If they do, then we'll follow that guidance. Our preference would be that we can anchor whatever we do when it comes to the safety of the students and the staff. We're doing something that has the approval of the health experts. So again, we're not at this point making any adjustment to 3 feet because our county has not opened that door as Onondaga County has. I'll further say, because sometimes people have asked, well, what are you doing to push the issue? And my answer is always going to be, I might have opinions, but my role as the superintendent, the role of the board is to support the things that we can support based on evidence. So quite frankly, I can have an opinion, but my opinion doesn't matter on health issues like the health experts. So we really need to, I'm not out there advocating for a move to 3 feet because I haven't studied all of the body of evidence out there, because that's not necessarily the role I play. We would defer to the people whose job it is to make sense of those studies that are out there and the guidance that's out there, and what have we learned about the virus now that we're a year into it. Those are the people that need to analyze that data and then give us parameters of which we can work in. So we're not trying to be evasive, but we're also not wanting to be dismissive of the serious situation we're in, and that we are in the midst of a pandemic, and we want to do the right things. So I think we've tried to find the happy medium of bringing our students back. We've had our K-6 students back for quite some time. We're continually looking at our numbers to see if there's any opportunities to be able to bring additional students back. Obviously, that would be heavily impacted if there's a change in social distancing. Have been consistent in that we've said we will not squeeze one more kid onto a bus or squeeze one more student into a classroom and break that guidance, because we don't feel like that's the responsible thing to do. So I'll continue to update everyone. We have a board meeting on the 23rd in 2 weeks. The Board of Health meets on the 22nd. So I anticipate we'll have some kind of new information that's pretty hot off the presses if there is anything that comes out of that. So along the lines of what have we been able to do, over time we've gradually tried to bring our students back. And we were happy to be able to bring back, when that door was opened through the health department, for sports participation. So things like sports have started to come back, even though in a very different way. Right now, we're sort of in that in-between time where we're completing the very abbreviated winter season. It just started really in the last couple of weeks. And now what is called as the fall 2 season is starting, is gradually being phased in. So in that season will be transpiring over the next several weeks. So it's not what we're used to, but at least it's our kids have the ability to get involved and get back out to some semblance of a normal routine with sports participation. Another thing that I wanted to highlight was, along with athletics, we also tried to provide opportunities for our students to get involved with some after-school activities, obviously needing to be conscious of all of the health requirements and safety requirements. But we did make an attempt to add some additional late bus runs where students could get much needed additional time to interact with their fellow students and with their teachers. And so we've had some good success and good participation in that in the last couple of months. And so I just would ask Mr. Faustino if he can just give us a little update, because it is new, and of what types of involvement are we seeing for that after-school program.
Good. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Bissett. I think you said it best, is that, even though we have a lot of these restrictions, we continue to find creative ways to bring back some normalcy to our students. And one of the highlights over a couple of years has been our extended day and enrichment program after school. A lot of programs just weren't able to offer this year because a lot of the agencies that we bring into Canastota just aren't ready to come into buildings yet. And so, it's been very difficult, but we, over the last couple of months, been able to put an extended day back per day. Currently on Wednesday and Thursday, we have 70 plus students that stay after school from 2:10 to 2:55, and then from 2:55 to about 3:55, which when we do an enrichment program. On Wednesdays, students stay for extended day with their classroom teachers, so we continue to be safe and have their own workspace. They're dismissed at 2:55 if you are receiving a bus, so we created some equity if you're a bus student. From 2:55 to 3:55, we have an enrichment program. On Wednesdays, the students can choose from an art and movement program or physical education. And then on Thursday, they can choose from an art and literacy integration by Mrs. Bunio, Books, Bites, and More by Mrs. Laverty, and then physical education with Mrs. Miss Morris, one of our hometown young ladies, has come back to support us, as well as Mr. Kopp in physical education. So we've been able to expand our programs, not only for our in-person, but for our virtual students as well. We had a big demand from our 5th grade virtual students to do some after-school program. We felt that was a need. But not only did we want to address our in-person, but also our fully virtual kids. So on Mondays from 2:10 to 2:55, we have a girls empowerment program that goes on with Mrs. Pakufka, and we targeted some of our 5th grade students for that, and that's really well attended every Monday. So we are offering an array of options for in-person as well as at home, so that we continue to provide a comprehensive model. Like I said, we're at 70 plus students, and we continue to grow with those, as long as we continue to be safe. And so we continue to make sure that we always go back to that safety factor. Great success. And Mr. Bissett, I guess I would say thank you and the board for supporting that, because one of the things that's been missing here is our after-school program, which has been fantastic over the last couple of years. And we're just getting back to some type of normalcy. And this is one of those pieces that makes it feel just a little bit better.
All right, thanks, Mr. Faustino. I just wanted Mr. Faustino to be able to give you a little bit of, some good news that, that's pretty good participation, over 70 kids in Robert Street. I think our kids really needed that type of additional engagement. And so we'll keep looking at it and evaluating it. That there's also, that's happening at the upper grade levels as well. And so we can provide some updates at future meetings as well on some of those activities. But I think again, a positive development as we try to get back open as much as possible. Principals have put a lot of work in that. The teachers have as well. So we appreciate people who've really gotten involved in that program and stepped up in transportation, because we had to work on being able to make that happen within our bus runs. Obviously, transportation is a lot more complicated than it used to be, and we will not compromise the standard that we established at the beginning of the year. And so we can't just put an extra kid on. That sometimes means that Mrs. Clark is working her magic as far as figuring out how we get kids where, to make sure we're doing things the right way. Finally, just 2 final reminders. At the next board meeting, we're anticipating we'll be able to bring you a proposed calendar for the 21-22 school year. We're currently have got a draft of that and are reviewing it. And we believe that we'll be able to bring a proposal for you for the next board meeting. And we're also happy to report that we have are grateful that Walgreens Pharmacy has stepped up and is actually going to be offering an in-house vaccination clinic right at the school this Thursday. So staff members will be able to get vaccinations, and we'll be able to do it right here on campus during the course of the day. So we appreciate that. That's again, as people are getting vaccinations, that means that we're much closer to being functioning normally. It means that more people are protected and won't need to be quarantined or actually get the virus. So thank you to Walgreens for partnering with us and making that happen. And that's what I have for today.
Any questions for the superintendent? Twice. Okay. All right. Moving on to the agenda. Personnel recommendations. All appointments are pending clearance on fingerprinting. Retirements and resignations. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby accept Linda Bosnick's letter of intent to retire at the end of the 2020-21 school year. I have a motion. Motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby accept Sherry Wilcox's irrevocable letter of resignation for the purpose of retirement effective June 30th, 2021. I have a motion.
So moved with regret.
Second, please.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolved, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby accept Daniel Simmons' letter of intent to retire at the end of the 2021-22 school year.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolved, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby accept Lori Restantana's letter of intent to retire at the end of the 2021-22 school year. I have a motion.
So move with regret.
Second.
Second. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolved, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby accept Susan Casabal letter of intent to retire at the end of the 2021-22 school year.
So
We have
moved.
a- Second, please.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. There is no permanent appointments. Substitute appointments. Resolved, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby appoint Sherry Wilcox as a retired certified substitute teacher at $102 per day, effective July 1st, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolved, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby appoint Reese Daly as the substitute cleaner at $16.38 per hour, effective March 10th, 2021.
So moved.
I think I heard a second in there. Nick, you good? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolved, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby appoint Brian Buss as a substitute bus driver at $22.32 per hour, effective March 10th, 2021. I have a motion.
So moved.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Coaching. Resolved, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby appoint Thomas Condon to weight room advisor for the winter term, prorated at the rate of $2,374, effective January 21st, 2021. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. There is no other. There's no public comment period. Our future dates. Our next meeting is March 23rd. It's a special meeting. It will start at 6:30. Unless anybody has anything for this, I'd like to look for a motion to go into executive session to handle personnel and contractual matters.
So moved. So moved.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We are not planning on coming out with any action, so we'll be ending this regular part of this broadcast. Thank you very much for the public who joined.